Hollywood has always worshipped beauty, chiseled faces, tight waistlines, and the illusion of perfection. But behind the cameras, many beloved stars battled demons that changed not only their careers but their very bodies. Today, we uncover the real stories behind 12 Golden Age icons whose dramatic weight gain shocked the industry, reshaped their legacy, and in many cases foretold tragic ends. 1. The rise and ruin of Orson Welles. Orson Welles entered Hollywood like a comet, brilliant, impossible to ignore, and blazing with potential. At just 25, he created Citizen Kane, a film so revolutionary it rewrote the language of cinema. In his youth, Welles was striking, tall, broad-shouldered, and charismatic enough to make a room go silent. But genius came with chaos. Welles' appetite matched his ambition. Lavish dinners, non-stop, drinking, late-night writing sessions, and the pressures of constant scrutiny triggered a transformation. By his 30s, he began gaining weight rapidly, and his once commanding presence became physically overwhelming. Directors struggled to light him, costumers struggled to clothe him, and studios struggled to insure him. By the 1970s, Welles had become a giant in every sense, a brilliant mind trapped inside a deteriorating body. His weight created health complications that cut his life short at 70. Even today, his story stands as one of Hollywood's most tragic collisions of appetite, pressure, and genius. 2. The heartbreak of John Candy. Few actors were as beloved as John Candy. His warmth and kindness radiated through every performance, from Uncle Buck to planes, trains, and automobiles. But behind the humor was a lifelong battle with weight. Candy was tall and naturally large, but the demands of comedic roles often pushed him further. Studios encouraged him to maintain his big man persona even as doctors warned he was heading toward disaster. Stress from constant work, family pressures, and his struggle to break out of stereotypical roles fueled overeating and unhealthy habits. By the early 1990s, Candy weighed well over 300 pounds. Yet he still worked tirelessly, hoping to reinvent himself. While filming Wagons East in Mexico, Candy suffered a fatal heart attack at just 43. His death remains one of Hollywood's most painful losses, a reminder of the cost of constant pressure in an industry built on image. 3. The tragic decline of Elvis Presley. Elvis was more than a star, he was a phenomenon. With his electric smile, lean dancer's body, and magnetic stage presence, he conquered America in the 1950s. But fame at that level has a price, and Elvis paid it in full. In the 1960s and 70s, Presley's life spiraled into addiction, isolation, and emotional instability. Prescription drugs ravaged his metabolism and appetite. Once known for karate-like agility on stage, he began struggling to move, perform, or even breathe comfortably. His weight fluctuated wildly, sometimes jumping by 50 pounds in a single season. By the end, Elvis was unrecognizable, bloated, pale, and exhausted. His death at 42 was blamed on heart failure, but his body had endured years of abuse. The king of rock and roll died trapped inside a body he no longer recognized. 4. The fall of Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando wasn't just handsome, he was cinematic perfection. Beautiful, rebellious, and raw, he revolutionized acting with intense, realistic performances. His physique in A Streetcar Named Desire became legendary. But Brando carried emotional wounds that fame never healed. Food became comfort, and comfort became dependence. Friends observed that Brando used meals the way others used alcohol, excessively, urgently, as escape. By the time he reached his 60s, Brando weighed around 350 pounds. The man, once worshipped for his sculpted body, could barely walk without assistance. Even while filming The Island of Dr. Moreau, production reportedly rebuilt sets and adjusted schedules to accommodate his size. Brando died at 80, his body failing long before his mind. His legacy remains towering, but so does the tragedy of a man who tried to hide emotional pain beneath physical weight. 5. The silent struggle of Oliver Hardy. Half of the iconic duo Laurel and Hardy, Oliver Hardy was cherished for his charm and comedic timing. But behind the laughter lay a lifelong battle with obesity. Studios capitalized on it, building jokes and storylines around Hardy's size. By the 1940s, Hardy's weight exceeded 280 pounds, and health problems multiplied. When he attempted to lose weight rapidly to prolong his career, the sudden changes caused severe complications. Hardy suffered multiple strokes and died at 65, his body worn down by decades of strain. His story reflects an early Hollywood truth. The bigger the laughs, the more the industry demanded, often at the expense of the actor behind the character. 6. The collapse of Jackie Gleason. Jackie Gleason, star of The Honeymooners, lived a life fueled by indulgence. He loved food, alcohol, and parties as much as he loved performing. His comedic genius was undeniable, but so was his self-destructive lifestyle. By the 1960s, Gleason's weight fluctuated wildly, sometimes reaching over 300 pounds. Directors accommodated him with minimal movement scenes, custom costumes, and careful lighting. His size became both part of his comedic identity and a prison he couldn't escape. Gleason's health deteriorated, and he eventually died of cancer at 71. Even then, his weight complicated treatment and recovery. His life remains a classic tale of talent overshadowed by excess. 7. The vanishing of Montgomery Clift. Clift wasn't overweight, but his story belongs on this list because his body changed just as dramatically as anyone else's. After a car accident in 1956 shattered his face, Clift turned to alcohol and pills for relief. His once beautiful features became swollen, puffy, and unrecognizable. Hollywood often equates physical beauty with marketability, and Clift felt that pressure intensely. His emotional suffering manifested physically, and by the early 1960s, he looked decades older than his actual age. He died at 45, a victim of internal wounds the industry never saw. 8. The unraveling of Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum was the epitome of masculine cool, rugged, confident, effortlessly attractive. But behind the scenes, he struggled with alcohol and erratic living. By the 1970s, his drinking had taken a visible toll on his body. Weight gain, bloating, and declining mobility affected his career, forcing him into supporting roles. Though still respected, Mitchum's physical transformation shocked fans who remembered him as a towering sex symbol. His story is a study in how fame, stress, and addiction can reshape a once-dominant screen presence. 9. The overindulgence of Errol Flynn. Errol Flynn, the swashbuckling hero of classic Hollywood, lived more intensely than the characters he portrayed. His lifestyle, drinking, parties, and non-stop excess caught up with him quickly. By his early 40s, Flynn looked decades older. Alcohol bloated his face, drained his energy, and expanded his waistline. Fans who remembered the athletic swordsman from Robin Hood were stunned at his decline. Flynn died at 50, worn down by a lifetime of hedonism. 10. The vanishing strength of Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy was never slim, but years of alcoholism dramatically changed his appearance. The once vibrant leading man became visibly heavier and increasingly frail. His weight strained his heart and organs, and by his final films, Tracy could barely move without assistance. His decline wasn't simply physical, it was the accumulation of decades of emotional battles and addiction. Tracy died at 67, leaving behind a legacy of brilliance shadowed by personal struggle. 11. The collapse of Raymond Burr. Known for Perry Mason and Ironside, Raymond Burr spent much of his career battling weight gain driven by illness and emotional hardship. His size created on-set challenges, forcing productions to rewrite scenes, modify props, and hide his body behind desks, wheelchairs, or furniture. By the 1980s, Burr weighed over 350 pounds. His physical limitations were severe, yet he continued acting until shortly before his death at 76. His transformation shocked fans who remembered his sharp features and powerful presence. 12. The hidden pain of James Coco. James Coco, beloved for his comedic versatility, struggled with compulsive eating and emotional instability. His weight surged dramatically during the peak of his career, sometimes reaching dangerous highs. Directors adjusted costumes, sets, and schedules to support him, but Coco's health continued to deteriorate. He died at 56 from a heart attack, another brilliant performer undone by internal battles reflected visibly in his physical transformation. These 12 stars lived extraordinary lives, filled with applause, fame, and unforgettable performances. But behind the glamour, many carried heavy burdens. Their weight gain was never just about food. It was about pressure, addiction, heartbreak, aging, loneliness, and the crushing expectations of Hollywood perfection. Their stories remind us that even the brightest stars are human, vulnerable, fragile, and struggling in ways the world rarely sees. Their legacies endure, not because of how they looked, but because of what they left behind on screen.